All right, great. Thanks, Tammy.
Hi, Dr. Rob.
Hey, Tammy. Happy day to you. It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
what is there to be happy about?
It's a
Today,
Monday.
we're
It's
alive.
Monday. We're still here. It's yeah. Okay. So the first question I put in an answer, so you should be able to see it.
Uh-huh.
1 year after discovery, I'm still struggling going to and working at our business. My husband took prostitutes there. He said it's always just one with him. So it sounds like minimization. He told me it happened outside behind the warehouse. He watched me sit in that area and tried to resolve my stress. He offered to sage that area also. He then reveals it never happened there, but inside our business. How could he watch me look so dumb? He also hired a crush of his, but he says he never even flirted with her. How is that believable? He offered to replace my position with a teen girl that I believed he fantasized about. He would he would live cam masturbate at his desk with real people. He also paid female porn streamers thousands of dollars. He picked up prostitutes. So there's a lot of acting out. He would leave
Yeah,
in
I
the
see
middle of the
it.
day. Yeah. So I guess the question is, it happens so often. Oh shoot,
Um,
this is one of those that's
that's okay. I'm gonna
continuation. And
I gotta bring my dog upstairs, but I can hear you. So when you ask the question, I'll answer. Just take me a
yeah,
minute.
I'm looking for the question. I don't,
I think I already know the answer, but
yeah, I don't
unfortunately, but
see,
I want to hear.
I don't see a question with this. So,
Well, let me just say a few things.
let's go to, I'm struggling
Yeah,
going to and working at our business, but
yeah.
yeah.
No, I think so. I'm a very spiritual person in many ways, and I have saged my house and I've saged my business, when I was starting, and I completely understand the idea of kind of, clearing the air, so to speak, and creating a space. But all the sage in the world is not going to clean this space. To me, it's more like setting it on fire is when I'm thinking about if I were
But
a
don't set
spouse.
your business on fire, then
No,
you'll
no, no,
get
please. But you
insurance.
know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, it's much more about anger than clearing. So, just listening to this, I don't think you're a fool. I don't think I think you're being lied to. I think you're being gaslighted. I think you're being told red is blue and blue is red and, like that. And there's only so much of that you can take. And by the way, if you're writing us with all this stuff, clearly this is a serious problem. So to whoever this is, I just want to tell you, number one, do not doubt yourself. What you feel is real. And I want to say to all the spouses, we are very sick people as addicts, and we know your vulnerabilities. And so we know how to bullshit you better than anybody else. And so, sadly, you've said enough, and I can let Tammy comment. You said enough to tell me that, this is a very troubled guy. And if it were me, I would ask him to, well, two things. I would ask him to commit to some kind of care, or else I certainly wouldn't go to work with him. And I hope, Lord knows, you're not sleeping in the same bed with him. He's got to have some kind of consequences. I think at this point, it isn't about your questioning how bad this is. And it's certainly not about calling yourself a fool. I trust you completely. You're being fooled. So in any case, no matter how much you might love this person and how much you want to help them, there's nothing you can do except trust your feelings and believe that it is a much more serious problem than you thought it was. This is somebody who's, as Tammy said, multiple issues, a lot of acting out. So you said a year after discovery, you've barely learned anything. You already know all this stuff. And I got to tell you, with the guys I work with, it's 3 times this plus. So I don't know what your question is, but I can say it's very serious problem. It's sort of like saying, no, this person doesn't have a racing heart. They're about to have a heart attack, and you've got to save yourself. Um, I certainly wouldn't be going by the business. I wouldn't be assisting. I wouldn't be helping. I would prefer to you change your locks. So, and by the way, I'll just say quickly, Tammy and I hear a lot of stories. And this is honestly, if I read through all of this, a pretty bad one. This is very typical of the kind of guys we take into treatment. I'm not even sure this is a therapy kind of guy. I mean, he needs something very intensive. So I'm deeply concerned about you. I want you to go get an STD test. If you've had sex in the last 6 months, it's really important that you protect yourself. I want you to find from Tammy one of the support groups that are completely free that we do, so you can listen to other spouses and what they're going through, so they can validate your experience. And I certainly hope that you're seeing a professional who knows what they're doing to get the kind of support that you need, because you're living in a nightmare, and Sage, it just hurts me that someone would say to you that they're kind of clearing the space when they're destroying your life at the same time. So, Tammy?
Yeah, and I would. I was like, I'm a math person, so I was like, I would hire a forensic accountant. I would have the business. If this is your co-owned business, like that would be a problem for the business if he is diverting funds, if he's taking funds from you or the business, to pay for cam streaming.
This.
Yeah, yeah, and whatever else. I agree with Dr. Rob. Get an STD test. I would also like. I had this thought, because he's doing this stuff at work. And this is, you were not dumb, like it wasn't that he was making you look dumb or you look dumb. He was probably going, oh phew, I got away with that one. So this is part of the look over there, don't look over here kind of stuff, that addicts do. So that's typical addict, and that does not make you dumb or look stupid or whatever. My one thing I was thinking too, though, is, do other people in the office know about his behaviors? Is there like this, like everybody knows the secret and you didn't? Because that would be really tough for me. I would feel betrayed by others as well. And with power situations, if he's the owner or you're the co-owners or whatever, that can be difficult. But it would still be something that I would go. I would want to work on my safety, for things. When this happens in a home, I'm always going like, new paint, new bedding, new bed, new mattress, whatever it is that you need to do. But a business is very challenging, particularly if that's your livelihood. So how do you take care of yourself within that context, of the business? But like I said, forensic accountant, and I would tell, I'm going to get a forensic accountant to come in and look at everything in the books and everything that, that is of question, it's going to be an issue. So that would feel a little empowering to me in a chaotic situation. But again, I mentioned before Dr. Rob came on, the work group for betrayed partners that starts on June 14th. It's really good. Angela Spearman teaches that, facilitates that. It's on Seeking Integrity, but do reach out, Tammy, TAMI, at seekingintegrity.com, for resources as well. Oh, one more thing. I was thinking, Dr. Rob, you do an expert consultation, and these two, that could be helpful, to gauge where people are. He does a one-time 2-hour expert consultation via Zoom with couples. And when people are stuck, floundering, or somebody is kind of digging their heels in, he's pretty good at helping identify what the issues are and validating partners' experience, so yeah.
Well, there's that. But there's a couple other things I want to say real quick is that I saw the word teen girl, and I don't know
Oh
what that
yeah.
means, but I would really be concerned about that. And listen, this is not a safe person. I don't know what he's doing, but he could be putting you in a position where he's going to get arrested. And I'm not just talking. Did you know that prostitution is illegal? Did you know that masturbating at your desk at work can be a problem? Did you know that people get blackmailed when they have people's information? He may be sending penises back and forth. Well, guess what? They now know who he is, what his information is. This can cause a lot more serious problems than the ones you're simply looking at. So I don't mean to scare you at all, but this is a more serious question. And again, I hope that call Tammy if you need a therapist.
Email
TAMI at
me.
Seeking Integrity.
Yeah.
We don't get kickbacks. Oh, email, sorry. And also, Tammy, what did I want to say about this? Is the Betrayed Partners group starting soon? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
I
I
thought I
just
heard you
mentioned
say
the
that.
Betrayed Partner work
Right,
group with Angela
right, the work group.
Spearman, the 6-week
Right.
online course, Healthy Boundaries. I mean, it's
It
good
starts
content.
soon though, right?
It's June 14th. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Next question. I'm the betrayer in our relationship. Is it bad for my recovery to rehash the events of my acting out when my partner asks? I do not want to think about any of my acting out behaviors or partners. I am enjoying living a life of healthy recovery, and I feel overwhelming shame when I'm asked about my past behaviors.
Well, I have a lot of questions, like how long? Um, how long has it been since since your spouse found out about this? I'm not sure why you don't want to think about your acting out, because if it's framed in a way in your head, like I've caused a lot of pain and this is deeply troubling and sad to me. I don't think talking about it in that perspective would trigger me. I also think that I hope you're in 12-step support. I hope you have other men who are there for you. There's nothing wrong with calling one of them and saying, hey, I'm going to talk to my spouse about some of these things and I can get triggered. So I want to check in with you afterward to make sure that I'm okay. Um, I don't know, Tammy, what rehash means. You
Well,
know,
it's too, yeah, that's where I
I
was
mean, I
going
know what
because
the word means,
no, no,
but
no.
I'm
But like
sorry.
to me, this is a betrayed partner going, give me all the gory details. And so this feels like, I don't know if there was a formal therapeutic disclosure, but this feels like a betrayed partner going, no, I want to know more. No, I want to know more. But and I don't want to I mean, I have a very clear, I remember, my acting out, but to get drawn into uh, a place of where it's like, oh, it was really fun or really exciting or whatever would not be healthy for me. I'm really concerned about the partner because like if the partner's going, tell me more, tell me, did she have red hair? Did she have? I mean, what? Like, tell me where you were. Tell me what position. Like, if this is going for the gory details, to me, I would back up and go have a formal therapeutic disclosure, and that's a very set thing, and it isn't helpful. It really is more hurtful for partners. I know they want to know all the details and they want to know, how did you feel? Did you love her? I mean, all of those things. And on some levels, yes, there's the need to know, but there's also the need to protect the partners that are absolutely devastated with trauma are the ones that have gotten gory details that they just can't get unstuck from their head. So it's a challenge, but to me this feels like, wow, professional help for both and each of you would be really a valuable part of where you are right now.
And I just want to add that there's a difference between, I mean, that's what disclosure is for. I don't know if you said, I don't see anything about a formal, just there is a formal process by which you sit down with your spouse after having made lists and clarifying it and then going through it with them. It's usually there are multiple therapists involved. I mean, it is a process to keep you safe, to keep them safe, to make sure that you have come up with all the information. I also wanted to mention that there's a difference between saying, for 3 years, I saw sex workers and I had an affair with a coworker that went on for 6 months. And there's a difference between talking about those things and saying, here's the body part, and here's the bed we slept in. And here, there are things, quite honestly, as much as you spouses want to know it, there are details that if you hear them, you'll never get them out of your head. And if you're really planning on being together again or working things out, or especially being intimate in any way, that level of details is not going to teach you anything, but it sure is going to cause you forever pain. But again, what is said, how it's said, that's really for a professional to guide, in my opinion.
Okay, the next one, how can my husband and I have friends if this is the way he of thinking while around women? Is my life forever friendless? I can't even leave his side to see them because most times I have in the past, he sees it as an opportunity to find sex. I asked him if he would be comfortable with me around his friends if I was a sex addict, and it was an adamant no.
Well, I want to leave a lot of this to you, but to me, this is the tail wagging the dog. I think that you should leave his side. He's going to do what he's going to do. Okay. He's either going to be with someone or he's not going to be with someone. It's going to be a friend or it's going to be somebody on the street. It's going to be somebody he works with. So the idea that you can keep him safe or protect him from, in some ways you would be protecting your friends. I would be, and Tammy, I wanted to leave a lot of this to you, but I wouldn't encourage my spouse to be around my friends. He can be around his own friends and you can spend time with your friends. And if they say what's going on, you could say simply, we're really not getting along these days and we're trying to do things separate. So I'd rather it was just us or just me when I come over for dinner. You can arrange, I don't think it should be friendless, but I do think you can arrange your life in a way that you feel safer and that you don't end up feeling humiliated or worse. Tammy?
Yeah, I'm like, this is all of your focus is trying to make a safe environment for you by controlling him,
Right.
and it will never work, and it will steal all of your joy. I hear, am I supposed to be friendless? No, you having a lot of friends that are healthy and nurturing and safe for you, fantastic. That's why we created the drop-in groups and all of these safe places for you to be with other betrayed partners. He's going to do what he's going to do. If there are no consequences for his behavior, and it isn't like you creating a consequence that is like that'll make him, want to do things differently. It's like, no, I value me. I'm going to take care of, I've got healthy boundaries for my safety. You're going to do what you're going to do. I'm going to be distant from you. I'm going to, we're going to separate, in-home separation or formal therapeutic separation, whatever it is. But, you working with somebody that can help you define what your healthy boundaries for your safety are, and he's going to do what he's going to do. And, if you can, like, lots of people stay with their addict even though he's acting out, but they have a whole life that's good and fulfilled, and it's annoying that he's acting out and not having sex with him because he's doing things that are problematic, but that doesn't mean that you don't get to have your life. A lot of people don't stay in the relationship. I mean, it's just, and there's no judgment. It's really what's right for you. But I mean, what kind of a life is it for you if you have to follow him around and I was telling somebody not too long ago, you can't bubble wrap him enough to make him safe, make the world safe enough, for him. With technology, an addict's going to find a way to act out if they want to act out. Now, an addict in recovery is going to find the support to do things differently. It's absolutely, it's up to him. But what do you do to take care of you? You're the only one. He's not going to take care of you. You need to take care of you. Dr. Weiss, Dr. Rob says, we don't tell your partner your daily thought struggles. We are not parole officers, and will do is create more shame for the betrayer. Haven't we been in the dark long enough? Eddie Caparouche, she says one of the best ways for her to heal is to know what his internal thought struggles are, to not hide his thoughts or fear of backlash. My husband and I tried this. He told me of a woman he was attracted to while working. I was not upset, but appreciated knowing. So which is it? I really don't know what to do.
It's interesting, Tammy, this came up on our listserv today, and I actually wrote, it's funny, I wrote a full page on this we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are professionals in my arena and our arena who talk to each other on a daily basis on listserv, and they ask all kinds of questions. And as a senior person, I will often jump in and say, here's an idea. And this exact question came up today. And, I have only my answer. What you choose is what works for you. It's absolutely my belief that I do not want a spouse to be the thought police. It is not, you are never going to feel safe or comfortable every time I come home and say, well, I looked at someone today, or I thought about this, or it's that there is a place for that. That's why I have a therapist. That's why I have a sponsor. That's why I have fellowship. That's why I have therapy groups. That's why you have treatment centers. There are a lot of people that he can turn to and say, I'm struggling, but you will never really be at peace if you hear every single thought that he has. Look, people have sexual thoughts that have nothing to do with acting out. And the thought police, parole officer, I think it takes you out of the role of being a partner, and putting you in the role that you don't belong in. Now, that said, if this person acts out, he crosses the boundary into, I went to see that person, I paid for this, I was online with the porn, I saw my affair partner, where he's sort of breaking his sobriety, or then you need to know. And you need to know within 24 hours. I would not want to I would want every spouse to know if something happened that is concrete, that goes against everything we believe in and we've committed to. But I don't, all due respect to Eddie, yes, you need to know what my struggles are, but you don't need to hear them on a daily basis. You can know I struggle with this, I struggle with that. Uh, I know you appreciate knowing that thing that he said, but I'm not sure he's telling you everything. Where that information would send my mind is spinning. And while you may at this moment feel good about learning it, I would be thinking every single day, well, why is he late at work? Why did he go in early? Why is he this? Why is he that? It's not good for you. So I want you spouses to hear, and I know you don't like it. It is not helpful for you to hear every single sexual thought or feeling that we have. It is not your job. It is our job to go to the right people who we have absolutely put in our lives. That is our responsibility, to support and guide us. If I have a problem, if I drove down the wrong street, I want to call someone who can say, let's talk about that. it's not only about telling you, I want to talk to someone who can help me. Someone can say, not you, because even if I'm telling you, I'm watching out for how you're reacting, what you're thinking. I want to go to someone who I can tell everything and they say, okay, look, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, come on over, and whatever that is. So a bottom line behavior, yes. Eddie's right in terms of general issues, like I know they see sex workers, or I know, that I struggle with this or that, but I absolutely don't believe that that you guys should hear every single bit of our struggles, because we'll never heal. So anyway, that's my feedback. There may be other therapists who believe other things, but I've done this for 25 years. I'd lean with me. Tammy, what are
Well,
your thoughts?
and everybody gets to pick, and everybody gets to choose your. What I hear is now his addiction is still your focus. It's like, and I think you feel like, well, if he tells me, then I'm going to know, and you can keep yourself safer. I agree with Dr. Rob that he told you that. It's a woman at work now. Like I would be going, oh my God, he's going to work again today. What's he going to do? Is he going to be attracted? Is that woman going to be? I mean, like, I just don't need that. I need joy in my life. I need support. For him to go, I'm a little tired. You do your check-in, but it's like a check-in is like, I'm a little tired today. I'm going to need to have my, guard up. I'm going to call my sponsor at lunchtime just to check in, whatever, here's the healthy ways I'm taking care of myself. A little, my husband is normal. I've never betrayed him. He's never betrayed me. But, I used to say,
Your
you know
husband is
what I've been
normal?
thinking?
I've met your
He's very
husband. I
normal.
think he's healthy.
He's
None of us are
healthy.
normal.
He's not an addict, and he's but
Right.
when I used to I used to go, I've been thinking, and he'd get this look like, uh-oh, I was like, our brains are just like woo sometimes. And so like I've now learned that I will share a thought. I don't even start with I've been thinking, so for you to have to, to be the patrol person for the chaos that goes on in our brains. That is why we have a sponsor. That is why we have a program. That is why we have all of these resources to help us sort through things. When when I first got into recovery, they said first thought wrong. And I've learned, I was like that, in the process now, I don't feel that way anymore. I actually, do more right things, but it was a growing curve. And so for, your husband to be telling you every little crazy thing, oh my goodness, I feel bad because I feel like you are trapped by his thoughts, and they're thoughts, they're not actions. Okay, enough. We got lots of questions. My betrayed spouse is having a difficult time waiting for full disclosure as I work with my CSAT to complete it. This has led to a staggered disclosure. Any advice? Stop. Stop.
Go ahead, Tammy. I want you to
Oh my
answer
God,
that
it drives
first
me
because you're
crazy. It's
screaming
like,
about it.
well, no, but it's like, like so your spouse, I hope, is working with a qualified professional. That's the support for a spouse. If there's a date scheduled, which I hope there is, then it's like, you just have to get to that date. And you, this is not a do-it-yourself. The staggered disclosure is more harmful. I heard of a story, it was a while ago, where the therapist was sharing, they got to the disclosure and there was like no reaction on anything. And then they said, well, we already told everything, and they did it themselves. And it was just, and it didn't go well. And it was just, anyway, so you get to pick. I say this all the time. You get to pick, you have a CSAT. Hopefully your spouse is working with a qualified professional. Why, that's like going to the doctor and the doctor says, take this medicine, do these things. And you go, yeah, I'm going to do it myself anyway. Why? This is hard stuff. Get the help that you need to heal, not, try to do it. You get to pick. You will have the consequences of it, not us. But it breaks my heart because I get these calls all the time of like, here's what we've done. And I'm like, oh, so, okay, I'm done.
Well, I wanted to add, I mean, first of all, trust will never be restored, even when you get a disclosure. If you get this and that and this and that, you're going to wonder and worry when the next shoe is going to drop. The other thing, if your partner is, um, I think part of what the addicts struggle with is I've hurt them so much, I've done all these awful things, I owe them, and so I must tell them everything or every detail or everything they need to ask or whatever it is, even though we're going to get to this formal process. And I think there are ways to say, I love you, I respect you, and that's why I want to do this in the right way. I completely understand how much pain you're in. I completely understand that you would love to hear every every piece of it. But as much as you want that, I don't feel safe with us talking about this right now. And I know you're going to be frustrated. I know you're going to be upset. I know you're going to think I'm hiding things, but we have a process that we're in, and I don't, and I've been told that this is likely to make things worse. So I think there are ways that addicts struggle to just say no. They feel like, I've done everything so bad, I got to fix it now. Let the process take place. You're in a process. You have a professional involved. Find a way to say respectfully, that's going to happen in 6 weeks. Here's something I tell spouses, write it down. Write down your questions. I don't want you to miss anything. I'm the betrayer. I don't want you to miss anything. I don't want you to feel like but please write it down to make sure that we get to it at the right time.
I'm going to only disagree with you because you said if the addict says, I completely understand, like
Oh,
don't even try to say that because you don't have so I would just go,
well, I think you could say, I completely understand that you want this
yes,
information now.
yes,
Not
I
and
agree with.
Tammy's absolutely right. I completely understand what you're going through. No,
Yeah,
you'll
no,
never
no,
fully understand
no,
that.
no. Yeah,
Good
okay.
point, Tammy.
Could you discuss your philosophy on the amount of detail that needs to be shared if you decide to proceed with a full disclosure session with a betrayed person? I am the betrayer, just as recently discovered in the last 2 months.
Well, first of all, I hope you're working with an informed professional, because if they know what they're doing, they need to know every detail. They should ask every detail. Believe me, when people are in treatment and seeking integrity, I'm not interested in, well, I saw sex workers, or, well, I want to know who they saw, when they saw it, how often they saw it, what they paid. But that's my job. I can't help them unless I know every detail about this. I don't believe it is a spouse's I think deeply spouses are going to be harmed. I mean, again, this is the same answer by getting every detail. I don't know what your history is. I would not take on this question by myself. And this is not a question that I can answer. This is a question I would take to a qualified professional and say, here's my disclosure. Here's all the information. What do you think is healthy for me to share or not? It's also been 2 months. And Tammy, I want you to say something about that this is pretty darn recent. So I just wondered what your thoughts were about that.
Yeah, to me, this would be, please, if you haven't already signed up for the Sex Addiction 101, or Porn Addiction 101. I guess I don't know which is a fit, but both of those will start June 24th. Those are online work groups. I'm glad you're here. I hope both of you are here. That would be great. There's a betrayed partner work group that starts June 14th. So those are psychoeducation that you don't get at regular therapy or things. 2 months in, absolutely working with a qualified professional. There's so much detail that you need to pull. Not that we'll go into the disclosure, but so that you have the framework, so the qualified professional can help you compile that, because that's what the disclosure is the compilation of things, not every line another detail. I've heard of like 25-page disclosures. It's like, oh my God, you can never,
Right.
like, oh my goodness. So get
And I've
qualified
also
help.
heard about 3-hour disclosures,
Oh my
5-hour
gosh.
disclosures, 2-day
Yeah.
disclosures. I mean, that's just torture.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, Tammy, I
So
interrupted
getting
you.
professional help for each of you, is how you start making this different. But I wouldn't even work towards the disclosure if you haven't stopped the problematic behavior. So that is key, because otherwise there'll just be another disclosure. And another one and another one. So making sure you're on you're working towards, you've got a solid foundation and a plan, which is what the work groups help with. That'll help. You pull the information together, and 2 months in, brains are still foggy with things. We have guys that come to treatment, and I mean, I'm not there, but I've heard people are doing a timeline and something that they shared in group, and they didn't put it on their timeline. I mean, it's that challenging to try to to pull this information together. So working with qualified people, having your support group, your 12-step sponsor, whatever, to have you pull that data together. But it's really key that the partner have a support person too. I know a lot of CSATs won't even do a formal therapeutic disclosure if there isn't support for the betrayed partner. They need it in order to go through this process. So it's not like, well, he's, he's got the issue. He needs to no, like this is deep wounding. You need, help and healing for that. So, anything else on that?
Nope, I think we should. Well, we're
Okay.
getting very similar questions, and it's
Yeah, I
interesting. We
kind of,
have themes,
yeah,
and tonight
yeah,
is a how much to and when evening.
yeah.
So
So
let's
how
go.
do you love someone in a healthy way? I'm trying to get a grip on dating in a healthy way. Thanks.
Well, without knowing anything else about anything else, I would say to anyone, even if they weren't a sex addict, that I think it's really good to define what you want in a partner. And so we talk about circle plans, an inner circle, a middle circle, an outer circle. I talk about it like a red light, yellow light, green light. I would sit down and make a plan and say to myself, this is part of it, is here are the green lights. They laugh at my jokes. We have fun together. We have similar interests, our blah, blah, blah is blah, blah, blah. And we always have fun and they return my calls. And, those would be my green. And then and mine are different than yours. And then the yellow lights might be, it takes a while for them to get back to me. And they're often late. And they're telling me things about their life that make me kind of uncomfortable. And, and they just recently quit smoking. I mean, there's certain things, or they're still smoking. There are certain things that would tell me, I'm not sure, but I better watch out. And then there are red lights. And I've heard this, well, yes, they're still married and they're doing a lot of heroin and they lost their job, but they're so nice to me. And so I think, in the moment, we can get really lost in what we want with somebody without seeing the reality. So I think writing those things down, I think having other people around you to check it out. This is how the date went. This is how I felt. This is how long we were together. I also want to say that dating is, let me tell you what dating is. It is spending a short period of time in a brightly lit coffee shop, maybe an hour. And then if you have a second date, it's taking a walk. So getting into the intensity of dating, it makes it very hard to be objective and really see where you're at with this person. So all the things I'm talking about are what healthy people already know, but we don't. We get involved in intensity, we lose ourselves in the person, we make bad decisions. So I think it's good to prepare what works and what doesn't for you in two ways: what kind of situation and person you want, and then what is dating, what is the first date, what is the second date, and then have somebody healthy to run all that stuff by, your therapist, a 12-step person. So I'm giving out general dating tips. I'm not saying anything about addiction. I will say one more thing about it, which is, oh, Tammy, years and years and years ago, I went to a dating course, How to Date, and it was for therapists to learn. And I knew every therapist in that room was really there because we wanted to date. But anyway, one of the things they said, and I never forgot this, is dating is a numbers game, meaning you may have to date 15 people in a year or two in order to determine who is really the right one. And I think one of the problems is we pick someone too quickly. And other problem is that we don't choose enough people. So we don't, doesn't work out after three people and we just give up or say, I can't do this or that kind of thing. So sometimes you have to date a lot of people, and that means a lot of coffee, a lot of tea, a lot of bad pie. But you got to trust the process, and there is a process. I'll tell you one more thing that I hated. I hated this, Tammy. Years and years ago, I wanted somebody. I wanted somebody. I wanted a relationship. And I said to my therapist, how long do you think you really need to know someone before you really know them? And he said, about 2 years. I wanted to hit him. It's like 2 years. No, I want to know within 2 weeks whether we're ready to get married. Are they going to move in? We're not patient people. And I need guidance to slow down the process and really take time and get feedback from others. So that's my stuff on dating.
And it's great stuff. And I think, you talked about the intensity, and I think for those of us that don't date well, we are looking for intensity, or we have chemistry with that person. And so it's all about the chemistry, and we overlook the massive red flags that are like, this person is
Right.
dangerous for you. Dr. Rob did a podcast with Dr. Stan Tatkin called We Do. And as you're writing your list of like, this person shall be or shall not be, which is what I did, and it worked really good for me. But I think it's really good to have a perspective of this is what a healthy relationship is. And in a healthy relationship, the two of us against the world, we are better off. We are healthier, we are happier, we are nurtured, we are partnered. In an unhealthy relationship, the opposite is the case. So, but if we're putting the focus on what would be a healthy partner and what would be a healthy relationship, rather than, this person is, hormone driven, intensity driven, whatever, we are we are creatures that like to be, pair bonded. We are healthier that way. So, but slowing down that intensity is challenging. But we, and Dr. Rob and I have talked about this before too, but we've talked about people in sex addiction recovery that they've been sober 10 years. They haven't dated anyone in 10 years. So that's not healthy either. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you have to, it's a numbers game. So you have to be willing. I really love having a posse of people that can help, guide you and, help go, hey, there's that red flag, or there's a green flag and you're missing it. That getting the input from others helps us do a better job of picking. But a list, that was key for me, was he shall be, he shall not be. It wasn't long, but it was like, I didn't compromise on a single thing, and it's worked out pretty good. So, okay. My husband is completely taking advantage of me and my brother from my perspective. At this point and rate, I don't really want him here if this is how he will continue to operate. And I've made it clear, but he will manipulate everyone around us, even my special needs brother, to make it about me not giving grace enough or seeing the work he is doing or lack thereof. For me, what I'm seeing is manipulation everywhere with CSAT, church, men's group, etc. Help. I have to be mean.
I'm not sure, and if you can help me, Tammy, taking advantage
Oh,
of
wait, I see.
myself
I
from,
went back. I'll put it in. So it says, I just added to the bottom. This is all behavior related in the sense of silence, disrespect, manipulation, gaslighting, playing victim at the expense of me and our family and our entire community. Objectification with complete denial.
well, I think that, what you're seeing is what it is. And again, you have to trust. I wouldn't feel comfortable. You're already seeing it. Silence, disrespect, manipulation, gaslighting, playing the victim. What kind of person, who is that, who you want to be around you? Um, and especially if you have, and Tammy, you have a lot of insight into a special needs family member and what that takes to be around and what that takes out of you if you are related to them. And so it's not only dealing with your spouse who is being unsupportive, he is actively harming you and making your life harder. So, Tammy, I don't even see a single thing that makes me feel good about this husband, I gotta say.
No, well, and
What
why? And I'm curious why you feel like I have to be mean. It isn't about you being mean. It's about boundaries. Boundaries for yourself, for your brother. For the whole situation. And yeah, addicts are really good at manipulation. And we, in active addiction, we are highly focused on doing what we want to do. Now, interesting. Is your husband CSAT? Have you gone and provided collateral information? Have you said, he may be telling you something else, but this is what we're seeing at home. Is there cross-referencing? And at some point, like if this is how he is, what do you need to do to take care of you and probably your brother? What do you need to do to take care of you? And it's not about being mean. It's like, I'm taking care of me and my brother. I'm taking care of the people that your husband isn't taking care of.
Yeah, I wonder also what kind of support you have. I don't know if you said that, but it seems in this situation, I would have a lot of trouble being objective. And I think having some, and again, Tammy, this is someone maybe who should be in the betrayed partners groups, who's someone
Yeah.
who might take the betrayed. You need to ask other people questions. And, we're not there. We don't know the specific things. As I said, trust your gut. If you feel like you're getting manipulated, the part about the CSAT, though, I worry about. If you believe and really feel that your husband's therapist is is being manipulated, it's going to be really hard for him to get anywhere. And you don't really know. If you think there is manipulation, there is. And by the way, I know a lot of my clients will push away their spouses and their feelings by saying, well, my therapist said, or my therapist thinks, but they don't, sometimes they're making that up. So I would wonder if there's a way you could sit with their therapist, not to participate in the therapy, but to give your feedback. You could leave them a phone message. You could say, write this, just read what you just wrote to the therapist on their phone, on their machine, on their whatever. We don't have machines anymore, on their phone,
Voicemail. There's
and
still a
say, I
voicemail.
don't know what to do here. And then tell your husband, I'm leaving them a message because I don't know what to do with us. But don't be alone with this, and don't be alone with just Tammy and I in this. You need other people to really be there for you. Um, yeah, and who in the church is there for you? I hope that you have support from wherever it is you have faith.
Okay, next question. How do I
Okay.
balance eliminating my porn and sex addiction with moderate sexual intercourse? For example, what does it look like to still have regular sex even though I'm overcoming sex and porn addiction?
Well, boy, I have to say that's a very, very individual question. Where you're at, how long have you been in recovery? How much work have you and your spouse done? How is your spouse feeling about connecting? Um, have you taken some time out? I often hear from spouses that once they sort of know everything and they know what's going on, or even when they don't, they will want to be more sexual, but for the wrong reasons. They'll, and to your spouses, you might want to be sexual with us addicts because it makes you feel better. Like if we're having sex with you, that must mean we're not doing it, or to try to help us from not doing it, or to compete, or, there are a lot of bad reasons to be sexual. I think the right reason to be sexual is feeling trust, and that can take a long time. So I'm curious, I'm curious. Again, I think this is also a therapy issue. This is really something you could sit in couples therapy and say, we have this issue. I don't know how to resolve it. Um, just the desire for sex, I think, is not necessarily a good idea to have it. Thinking that sex is going to bring you closer, that may also not be true. So, what I really like about this question, Tammy, is that it's being asked, that this person is questioning their desires, their relationship, and not just saying, oh, well, it feels good and let's go ahead and do this because I think I'm not acting out. I think this is an important question, because I've had lots of men in treatment in particular who didn't realize that they were using their spouse, not just in terms of addiction, but really using them in a whole bunch of levels to get their own validation, or to feel like, or to try to fix what's going on inside of them by doing that. So this is, first of all, we don't have enough information, and second of all, I really think this is a professional question, either in couples work or individual. Um, and also, do you have a place to talk about this, a recovery program? Are you in a work group with some of the other addicts so that you can talk about what they're doing? Tammy, any other thoughts?
Yes, the sex addiction 101 work group. They talk about, what's inner circle behavior. How do we do? I mean, how do we have a plan? So those are foundational components. So, but yeah, I was thinking it doesn't feel like you have support to talk to people who can help guide you. That's what a sponsor does. That's what, we've got support sessions, 25 or 50-minute, support sessions. Scott and Jason both do a great job with helping guide, here's what the circle plan would look like. Here's what Jason works with more couples, but it might be, what do we need to do to be ready to do this? But it feels like you haven't been working on a program, like it's not just about stopping the problematic behavior, but what do each of you need? We talk about sensate focused touch. You start with that, so it isn't just intercourse. It's like, intimacy is not just sexual intercourse. It's, that's, sex addicts prove that all the time. So it's, how do we establish connection in a safe way, so that it's not, just triggering I mean, I've had, like Dr. Rob said, I've had so many people say, yeah, I felt like I was part of the porn, so he's not having sex with me,
Right.
he's having sex with porn, and so that isn't, helpful for anyone either. So, and that's a bigger question. Get help.
For the right reasons.
Hmm.
For the right reasons.
Okay. I'm the
Okay.
betrayed, and it's been going on for almost the whole 2-year relationship. I found out 3 months ago. or 3 months into it and kept brushing it off after promises and promises of change, lies upon more lies, porn using and lying, omissions, etc. Also lies about his past. The lid blew off again 2 weeks ago, and I demanded he get help for his porn addiction and lying. He has agreed, and here we are. I am just learning about porn addiction and betrayal trauma and everything. It's overwhelming. Where do we start? How involved should we each be in each other's therapy and recovery? How long should I wait for a therapeutic disclosure? How will I know if he tells me everything in the disclosure? Will the therapist make sure he does?
Excuse me for laughing. It's just there are so many good questions here, but there's like 9 of them. So we can go through them one at a time. But I'm also aware we have 7 questions waiting for us and maybe another 15 minutes at most to work. So Tammy, will you pick the questions and I will do
Well,
my best to answer them.
so here's the deal. You are very early in the process. Thank you for both being here. I've mentioned multiple times the Porn Addiction 101 work group that starts, and the Betrayed Partner. There are separate drop-in groups for each of you. Working with a qualified professional. Yeah, there's nothing you as a partner can do that will guarantee, perfection on, and that's not really the purpose of disclosure, is to set a foundation for moving forward. So at some point, get the right help and trust the process. And if you're committed to the process, I think you and your therapist will know. But you guys, I will really encourage you to have separate. He needs different help than you do. He
Right.
needs accountability, cognitive behavioral therapy. You need betrayal trauma support. You need help setting healthy boundaries. So it's, very different. And then, after formal therapeutic disclosure, but, having check-ins if it's not triggering, but work with your qualified professionals. Like, I'm glad you're here. We're not enough, so
I,
get more help. Go ahead.
I wanted to speak to therapeutic disclosure to all of you spouses.
Thank you.
I ran an outpatient clinic. I saw folks for a very long time. And I hear these horror stories, Tammy knows them, where someone said, I've been waiting disclosure for a year. I've been waiting for disclosure for 18 months. That's insane. I would lose my mind. When I was doing the work as a therapist, I would say to the spouse or to the addict through the spouse through the addict, we're going to pick a date. We're going to do it in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and we're going to get this out of the way. It's not about, there's no certain time where, 6 months from now, it is really about making a list and making sure you both have support and going through it. This isn't a forgiveness or a step, any step beyond just learning the truth. It isn't, you don't have to be at a certain place in therapy or a certain place in recovery. You just have to make a list and listen to it, make a list of questions and have them be answered. So if it were me, and I don't know who you're working with because different people have very different beliefs about this, but I will say to leave a spouse waiting and waiting and waiting to me is torturous, and I would never want to see them experience that. How will you know if he tells you everything? You never will know. Even if they take a polygraph, I don't believe you'll ever really know. Tell me, how would you answer that question, by the way? How will I know if he
It,
tells me
it,
everything? I think that's a great question.
he won't remember everything, and that's not the
Well,
point. It's
that's
it's
right.
not about knowing everything. It's about, do you have, it's bad, he's lied. Do you have enough data to go, okay, I believe he's, and so it's interesting that you say that, like a certain point of, I don't think if somebody's in active addiction yet, trying to do a disclosure with somebody is worth it, because he'll act out on the way to disclosure, So are you saying you don't care? I'm asking, this is a question for you, Dr. Rob, because you're saying he doesn't have to be at a certain place in recovery. To me, it's like, I would want the behaviors to stop so that we're not constantly doing this again.
Oh, yes. I mean, if they're
Okay.
you're right, Tammy. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. If they're continuing to add to the list, then obviously it's not the time to talk about it. But if they're adding to the list, they have a lot more serious. But then how would you know that? I mean, they would have to tell you, I'm not ready because. Um, I also want to say I agree with Tammy, in the beginning, having a couples therapist is not really helpful because all I ever hear is, the person who acted out says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And the person who is the partner says, you ruined my life. And there's really, and those True, but they not really anywhere you can go with that. Spouses need a lot of support, a lot of nurturing. They need to do a lot of grief. They need to connect with other people. Addicts need to sit down and clear their heads and figure out what the heck has really gone on and have direction for change. You need very different things at the beginning before different processes in therapy. One of the reasons we run a treatment center for addicts is because I want to treat the addicts when they're really struggling and try to help them figure out what their next steps are before they sit down with their spouses at home and start doing the work. So yeah, and thank you, Tammy. That's a great thought you had.
Oops, my glasses are not on top of my head. Okay. Have been married over 30 years, and it has been 2 years since last discovery with porn. He's been doing good in recovery with the 12-step program and goes to 4 meetings a week. However, I am still uncomfortable being undressed in front of him. He saw me with my shirt half on the other day, and I was immediately angry, even though it was my fault. I opened the bedroom door before my shirt was on, and he was waiting in the hallway to go to the room. Will I ever get past this?
Wow, that's a really tough question because it's a very individual question. What I suggest, sometimes I hope that you're talking about this. I hope you were saying to him, if it's a him, I think it is. I don't know what to do. I feel really uncomfortable with this. I'm not sure how to move forward with this. Are you talking to a professional about this? This is, by the way, a good couples therapy question. You know, how can you help me to feel safe? How can I begin to reveal myself? And I mean that both emotionally and physically without worrying about getting hurt. Um, and the anger, there has to come a point where the anger, how do I say this? Uh, hmm, there's there's a difference between feeling angry and feeling unsafe. And sometimes that can be confusing. The feeling angry part, I think after 2 years after discovery and good recovery, and the anger part, you know, it's kind of like a rock rolling downhill. It should get less and less and less, never going to go away. But that's very different than not knowing what to do and feeling uncomfortable when your spouse sees you in a sexual way. So I think the issues are a little different, but the bottom line is this is an intimacy and relationship problem. And again, to me, this is a good thing to take to couples therapy and say, I don't know how to handle this. The other thing I just want to say is that for those of us who have early trauma or have had traumatic experiences in the past, it may not be about what's going on right now. It may be, I mean, for some of us, people were looking at us in inappropriate situations. For some of us, we got pulled into things we didn't want to do. You know, some of us were told things that made us uncomfortable. So this may not be about the situation you're dealing with this right now, although I can see it absolutely sort of being conjoined. So thoughts, Tammy?
Yeah, well, I was going like if you set all this aside, it like I would invite you to maybe journal. What would it be like if you were comfortable, undressing in front of him? What would you feel like you needed to see from him in order to create that safety? In other words, what's keeping you from feeling safe? And like Dr. Rob said, it may be something there may be some more work for him to be doing, but it may be, something that, like that you've gotten so traumatized by, this and everything else that, maybe doing some trauma work for you. Yeah, because I feel bad that you feel angry at yourself, being angry and angry at
Right.
yourself for doing this, and I think the big thing is, what is the goal? He's doing recovery work, you're there. It feels like you guys are kind of stuck. And so what is it you're looking for in order to be able to move forward? And what would it be like for you to just dip your toe in vulnerability and say, okay, I'm willing to, I'm willing to let you see me button up my shirt, and just see if you can, yeah, it's going to be hard for me, but I'm going to just see. And that may be terrifying. And that would be really good information for your therapist to know too.
And Tammy talks about sensate focus, and maybe being undressed isn't where you are right now, but could he give you a massage? Could he wash your hair? Could you, cuddle? I mean, are there ways that you can begin to establish? And also, by the way, the big part of that is, I don't. We're cuddling, but now I don't feel safe. You need to have some control. Like, okay, I can cuddle for a few minutes, but now I'm, but over time, I mean, the goal is to move toward intimacy. And if you're scared and angry when you're even at just being seen, it seems like you need maybe to take a couple of steps back and start building a physical connection without, going there. Yeah.
Okay, next
So
question.
we'll go to, let's say 6:10, 10 or 10 after the
Yes, as
hour.
I
Is that
told,
okay?
I promised him
Okay,
that. Yeah, I
great.
found a women's lingerie and sex toys in his dresser. When I approached him about it, he got very angry and wouldn't open up about it. I still have no idea why it was there. He said he was wearing it and using the toys on himself. We were together for 3 years and engaged. Does this have anything to do with sex addiction? I never knew he was into the entire into this during the entire relationship.
So let me separate these things.
Mhm.
Um, what arouses me, what turns me on, whether it's a person or an object, that's really what we would call either an orientation issue or a fetish issue. Some people are into leather, some people are into lace. There are men who have a strong attraction to wearing women's clothes. Some of them are moving toward their own questioning of their gender identity. Some are simply enjoying it as a fetish plaything. So the part that bothers me is his shame. And that's what's going on in my mind, hiding it, not letting you know, you're having to find out about it, him getting angry at you when you, to me, though, that's more about shame. Like you busted me and I hate myself and I already feel uncomfortable with it. And now you know. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have known, but I can understand that the shame. But on the other hand, I have to say, I've worked with too many spouses who've said, we got married and I don't understand why I didn't have a choice about whether I was interested in someone who was into this or not into this. To me, addiction is about a history of compulsive and addictive over and over and over again. Let me say it this way. Um, People ask me, is sex addiction about what turns someone on? The answer is no, because if you look at alcoholism, it doesn't matter whether I'm drinking wine or I'm drinking whiskey. I'm still an alcoholic. And then people say, well, how often? If you have sex every day, every 3 days, does that define sex addiction? And I'll say, well, some people drink every day and some people are binge drinkers. And so how often doesn't do it either. And so when they ask what really defines sex addiction, to me, it's qualitative, not quantitative, meaning is what they're doing sexually negatively affecting their life, their relationship. And this may be, but it's more the secrecy and the hiding than it is acting out in ways that are deeply problematic for this person's life. So um, this is in part, to me, there's an evaluation needed. By the way, I have a PhD. This is so embarrassing. I have a PhD in sex. Like I literally know, I learned about sex addiction on the inside out, and now I learned about sex on the outside in. But this is a perfect example of something that, as a sex therapist, I would want brought to me and explored. To me, this doesn't sound so much. This part doesn't sound so much like addiction as it more is a fetish or a part of the arousal template, but you don't know. But if I just heard this and there was nothing else going on, I would not think this is an addiction. I would think it's more what turns them on, and they have a lot of shame about it.
Okay. Um, so
Just take
uh,
one. Go ahead. Did you want to
yeah,
say
so
about
I'm
that?
no, I think you did a great job, and I think it's really challenging to parse things out. Partner of a PASA 2 months ago, my spouse um, titrated the truth about faking 2 years of recovery and continued to watch porn. I realized over time he was actually watching himself along with others in the media, repeated videos over 9 months. In the last 6 weeks, I realized the content was him engaged in the same sex intercourse. When I confronted him, his only response is, I'm not gay. He will discuss only in hypothetical, identical to Jerry Boudreaux's, but
I'm a
Brudos.
little
I
lost,
don't.
Tammy. What
I'm
time
so
is this?
confused. I don't know it. I don't know either. This was the 606 one.
Oh, I see. You're
It's
in
the
the
very
questions. Okay.
bottom. Yeah, because the other
Okay, got it.
was just yeah. So
Okay.
so, but he's watching videos of himself, but he's just going
Yeah.
to
Well, that can be
yeah. So
very
yeah. So but with clearly with men. So yeah.
um I'm uh, there's a lot of secrecy
Oh
going on
shoot! You
here.
know what? I did that in that was in the open. Did you find it? Let me
Yeah, I
move it to
found it.
that. Okay,
No, I
sorry.
found it. Don't move it.
I
I
won't
found
move
it.
it.
Um, there's just so much that is unknown here. And so, I don't know. First of all, Tammy and I have read a few books on lying. And when someone talks in absolutes, I never have, or I am not, or it usually means they're not being entirely truthful. People who say, I don't know what this means, or I've done this a bit and I'm curious, or I don't know, that sounds a lot more like the truth than I am not. It doesn't mean that they are or they're not gay, but what it does, by the way, they're not gay. They may have homosexual interests, but they're not gay. I'm gay. I'm married to a man. I live as a gay man. Everyone knows it. It's a very different thing than simply being attracted to men. Um, so you're not losing your mind. I do think, though, he needs to be willing to go into some kind of therapy with you and say, what the heck is going on? And I need to know it. And I know you're uncomfortable. I mean, this is something. And by the way, are you going to do a disclosure? Because this should all come out in a therapeutic disclosure. So again, what I hear is a lot of shame and a lot of hiding. By the way, nobody titrates the truth. They lie and then they say a little bit more and then they lie and then they say a little bit more. This person has a history of lying to you. So there's just so much that is unknown. This is when I would really want a disclosure. This is when I want to sit in therapy together and say, what the heck is going on? This is when I want to say, if you're into men, great. If you're bisexual, great. If you want to just be with men, please let me know. So but just like the question that said, that asked about fetishism, um, we don't know whether it's just shame or it's really what turns him on, or we don't have enough information. You don't have enough information. And what I worry about is people jump to conclusions based on this much information. So I think you might need a disclosure. I think you might need a therapist who can sit down and talk about this. And what is recovery? Like, what is a bottom line here with this person? Because I'm not sure I understand. Anyway, Tammy, do you have any other answers for this? I think this is a
No,
little
this is one
tricky.
of those. Yeah, this is, this is one, a formal therapeutic uh, disclosure would be really, but you guys working with professionals, but yeah, who he's having sex with is, and we've talked about this too, it's like of less, he's betraying you. He's betraying you with others,
Right,
so,
right.
I'm not
It matters
gay is
less
like,
what, right. I thank you for saying that, Tammy, because people come to seeking integrity and the problem is, well, they don't come to us because we screen them, but people will come in saying, my addiction is that I'm interested in men, or my addiction is that I'm into panties, or my addiction, that's not addiction. Again, addiction is not what turns you on or how often. Addiction is about how your sexual behavior is affecting your life, your goals, and what means something to you. So I don't have enough information here again to determine whether what's really going on. But addiction is just because you don't like what turns you on doesn't mean that you have an addiction. Although there are a lot of people, and I think this is a big mistake, who, well, I just think it's understandable, but not true. They don't like some part of themselves sexually, and so they'll think, well, if I call it an addiction, then I can be sober and get rid of it. That's not how it works. You are who you are. You don't have to lie and cheat and sleep with hundreds of people. But if you're turned on by men or you're turned on by panties, or that is who you are. And that needs to be, you need to come to peace with that. And your partner needs to understand it so they can make decisions about their own lives.
thank
Tammy,
you.
it is
That's,
always a
yes,
pleasure to
yes.
work with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Um,
Great questions. Keep coming back. Lots of resources on our site. Reach out if you have questions. Thanks, Dr. Rob. Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Tammy.